Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Ike, and this is Growing with Dr. Ike. So, this week we're going to talk about eldest daughters and the myth of maturity. If you've ever seen an eldest daughter, you've probably thought to yourself, wow, she is so mature. She's not. She's just really responsible. It's important that you know that because when you tell the eldest daughter that they're mature, it's not a compliment because a lot of them know that they paid a very high price to seem more mature than they really are. So, I'm going to kind of break it down and let you know how they were manufactured to seem more mature than what they really were. The first thing you got to understand is that in a dysfunctional family system, the whole is greater than the sum. Now, you may be saying, what does that mean? What that means is whatever the goal is, it takes precedence over each individual person. So basically, there is no individuality in a dysfunctional family system. There is only the whole, which means the family system. So whatever the family wants, i.e., the parents, that's what it is. So you actually lose your identity at a very early age and you become whatever role they need you to play in order to move the family forward. For the eldest daughter, it was the person that was responsible, the person that was to represent productivity. So the eldest daughter, from a very young age, lost her identity. The only thing she represented was labor. It meant, what can you do in order to make our lives, i.e., the parents, much easier? Now, you may be saying, well, how did she make their lives easier? And why was it so easy for her to make their lives easier? You ask great questions. First of all, they like boundaries. If you notice, most eldest daughters who are adults, one of their biggest issues, amongst many other things, they don't have boundaries. And they don't have boundaries because in a dysfunctional family system, they are heavily enmeshed. And anytime you have an unhealthy enmeshment, that means that some adult has switched roles with a child. So for the eldest daughter, it would be her father that actually tipped everything off. Because one represents productivity, but she's also supposed to be really close to her father. But because he relinquished his role, he was absent and maybe even present but absent. She then took his role. So the eldest daughter, at many given moments, she played her father's spouse, her father's mother, her mother's spouse, her mother's mother, and most importantly, she played the parent for her siblings, or sometimes just a caretaker. Now, what you have to understand about family roles is that they're very rigid. And for the eldest daughter, she lost her identity very early. That's why she learned how to disassociate. She left her body in order to be able to be in an environment where she could function without necessarily understanding what was happening. By the way, not a good thing. But a lot of eldest daughters are doing that right today. They have never really got back in their body. That's why they have so many nervous system problems and autoimmune diseases. But what I want you to know is that this unhealthy enmeshment made the eldest daughter codependent, which means she was dependent on this system in order to feel loved. Very dysfunctional. So if you wonder why the eldest daughter often comes off as an adult when she is in dynamics, she like immediately takes the role of a leader, and particularly in relationships. She often tends to do the most, even not even giving people an opportunity to help her. And you maybe say, oh, she's bossy or oh, she's controlling. No, 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 no. What she is protective. She's trying to step back in a role that is really familiar to her, which is leading, which is taking care of. But the biggest mistake she makes in coming off as mature is that she knows the mechanics of how to get things done, but she doesn't know how to articulate what she needs. So she's guised as having it all together and being very mature. But underneath that hood, she couldn't tell you at all what it is that she needed from you, even if you asked her and wait and say, I'll wait. She couldn't tell you. And it's not because she doesn't desire help. It's not because she doesn't desire for someone to take it off of her hands. It's just that she never used her language. She was always told what to do. And even when she had big emotions, they were squelched because her parents quickly let her know this space, your emotions are not allowed. So she learned to kind of stuff everything down and just get the job done. Now, to someone on the outside, they're looking like, I never thought of it that way. No one does. Because the eldest daughter prides herself on getting things done, but in the most dysfunctional way. She likes to be needed. She loves to rescue people. Now, wait, don't hang up the phone on me. She would argue me down. No, I don't. But at the heart of the eldest daughter, that's what she hangs her hat on, is being the one that everybody can call on. As a matter of fact, that's the thing that is really killing her. It's because she doesn't know how to say no. And she knows she needs to say no, but she's afraid of saying no because she doesn't know what that will yield her. Will I lose loyalty? Will I lose my family? Will people hate me? Will they call me mean? Will I lose this proverbial love that I think that I'm getting, which really she's not getting any love? But she's been fooled to think that people love her by what she can do. That's kind of exhausting. Trust me. I hear you saying it already. And it is. But that is all she knows is how to do. So you can easily see if you were to peep an eldest daughter somewhere, you would think, wow, you know how to take care of yourself. You know how to run your business. You know how to, take care of a household. But what she always struggles with is her emotions and articulating what she needs because she never, ever, ever had her needs met because she was always meeting the needs of others. See, what you have to understand is that eldest daughters, depending on what culture they fall in, they were even more oppressed. They were even more subservient because in some cultures, men are superior than women. So they lost their voice very early. So when you come up in a culture where women are not even allowed to even have an opinion, you just learn that what you think that you want to matter, it doesn't really matter. And you're reminded of that multiple times. And you're reminded of that even by virtue of the people that are supposed to love you. They tell you without even speaking it, they demonstrate it. They let you know that we don't really care about what you feel. We just need you to do what makes us feel good. And she became very good at that. Now, you may be saying, Dr. Ike, what were some of these rules of engagement? I like to call it the social contract. It's a blind contract. She doesn't really know she's signing it, but she's signing it. And these are the rules that the eldest daughter subconsciously took on to make herself seem more mature than what she was. The first thing that you'll notice about the eldest daughter is that she seems controlling because she was controlled. That was one of the number one rules. She was controlled by her parents, meaning they controlled what she did, how she did it, who she did it with. And that breeded this level of perfectionism in her. Because you got to understand with kids, they are natural performers because they are seeking your attention. That's why I always say attunement is the most expensive thing that you can give a kid because it has nothing to do with the parent. So the eldest daughter lacked attunement. But that didn't mean that she wasn't working hard to seek it because she was being controlled. So she said, as long as I'm doing what I need to do, maybe they'll love me. So she got really good in knowing how to read the room in order to stay under the radar, not get in trouble, and also do what her parents needed her to do in order to feel safe or what she thought was safe. But not only did she learn how to be perfect, she also learned that she was blamed for everything. So if anything went wrong, she was blamed for it. So that made her tighten up even more. Think about it. If you are performing and if anything goes wrong, even if it doesn't have anything to do with you, you're blamed for it. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to get even sharper. Most importantly, she was denied her freedom. See, when you come up in a dysfunctional family home, there's no such thing as freedom. There's no such thing as autonomy. There's no thing as individuality. So she was taught early, don't think, feel, speak anything other than what our language is in this house. So she lost her identity and what she even began to develop that was important to her. Every time she would get a glimpse of who she could be or what she wanted to be, her parents was like, not in this house. So she completely stuffed it down in order to learn how to just be what other people need you to be in order to get their love and approval. Another thing to help her to be mature than what she really was or responsible because she wasn't really mature. It was that she learned that she couldn't talk. That's really big in the dysfunctional family system. Don't talk. Literally, don't speak your thoughts or opinions on what is happening around you. So she didn't have the ability to articulate what she was experiencing. One, because no one cared. Two, because she just wasn't allowed to. Now, this is the real big one about her learning how to be responsible or mature is that they have a incomplete rule. And the incomplete rule is basically transactions are not completed. Meaning, if you have a disagreement or a conflict with any family member, or your parents have a conflict with any family member, the transaction was never closed. So that ongoing relationship could be going on right today in your family. Somebody is not talking to somebody because that is how they keep the family system going. The transactions are never closed, but it also keeps you unhealthily tethered to a system, but also to people that you may or may not want to be connected to. But this is the most insidious of all that kept the eldest daughter tied to this system and having to just rely solely on herself. And that's why so many people rely solely on her, is that there's a rule called the unreliability rule. And that means that you can't rely on anybody but yourself. Now imagine a responsible kid learning at a very early age that you are responsible for yourself and no one else. That's what she learned. So when you put all these rules together and you think about an eldest daughter that you may know today, and you look at her from this lens of, wow, she's so mature. No, she's not mature. She's just learned how to survive in a system that one was controlling, wanted her to be perfect, told her she couldn't rely on anybody, her freedom, blamed her for everything, even if it wasn't necessarily her fault, and told her she could only rely on herself and not tell anybody that this was going on. So, the next time you see an eldest daughter and she is handling her business as she always does, don't tell her that she's so mature. You know what you need to do? Ask her, does she need some help? So, until next time, be good to yourself. And most importantly, somebody please check on the eldest daughter. I love you. See you next week.